Good evening and thank you for joining us. For the first time, the Calgary Stampede is acknowledging that its unwanted rodeo horses are sent to an Alberta slaughterhouse for meat. They say it's a destination of last resort for very few animals, less than 5%. But animal rights activists say it's a new low for the industry they already oppose. Bridget Brown has the story.
It's a pastoral scene that evokes the very image of Western tradition. Some of the finest rodeo horses in the world are bred here at the Calgary Stampede's ranch near Hanna.
Loose out of there. Let's go!
But it doesn't end in rodeo glory for all of these horses. The males who can't be trained to buck are sent to slaughter.
The selection would be, in the order of 20 horses a year that would be unsuitable for something else and would have to go this route.
The ranch trains bucking horses for the Stampede and other rodeos. The females who aren't suitable for sport can be put into the ranch's breeding program. But the males go here, to a slaughterhouse in Fort Macleod, to become meat that is sent mostly to Europe or Asia. Even the Calgary Humane Society, who normally works with the Stampede, says there ought to be a better option.
We adamantly oppose this practice, and we would hope that perhaps the Stampede might look at other options. There are horse rescues in Alberta that I'm sure would be happy to, help out with these animals that are no longer needed.
But Dr. Greg Evans says bucking horses aren't typically appropriate for riding or pets.
Basically, because they're bred to buck, they are a semi-feral animal, so they're wilder than an average horse, and a lot of them, it's a temperament problem where they're not, going to be comfortable in confinement of any kind.
That's the problem, says longtime Stampede opponent Peter Fricker. The Vancouver Humane Society is opposed to the Stampede's breeding and use of animals solely for entertainment.
There is cruelty at the rodeo, and now we find out that there's also horses being killed just because they're not fit to entertain a rodeo crowd.
Okay, Bridget, so the Stampede says about 20 horses end up at the Fort Macleod slaughterhouse. How many does the Stampede keep at the ranch?
Well, they own about 600 horses, so this is a very small percentage of the stock we're talking about. Now, as for the Vancouver Humane Society, they say any amount of animal culling for the Stampede is too much, in their opinion. They oppose the entire event in principle, but again, this year they'll echo their calls specifically to ban calf roping.
Okay, Bridget Brown, thank you for joining us. A jail cell confession today in the murder trial for two men accused of killing Calgary businessman Jack Beauchamp. And for the first time, we are able to show police video from inside the downtown office where Beauchamp was gunned down in 2006. In this exclusive crime scene video, you can see where the alleged murder took place. Bullet casings on the floor there, and then in the distance, the body of Jack Beauchamp lying in the hallway. Court also heard testimony today from an undercover officer who was planted in prison with one of the two men accused in the case. According to the officer, John Deere told him, "The person who I killed cost me $1 million. Deere claimed Beauchamp was a high-rate lender, a loan shark. But he also said, "I didn't want him dead. The crackhead wasn't supposed to get physical. I just wanted the guy to give him a stern talking." Deere and Mohammed Kareem are charged with first-degree murder, accused of killing Beauchamp over a real estate deal. Carrie Hiles was in the courtroom today. Carrie, the judges also released audio of a call for help made by the murder victim.
That's right, Tara. It's the first time we can hear Jack Beauchamp reaching out, concerned about some emails he says he received. As we listen in, the operator didn't think the emails warranted police action or were criminal in nature.
I've received some emails from a client that I've discussed with my lawyer, and it seems like they have crossed the line into the threatening side of things.
What have they said of this threatening things?
Well, comments like, if you live like a gangster, you should expect to die like a gangster.
Not that, sir. The threat itself is not criminal. It's not specific.
Okay.
If they were to say, "I'm going to damage your property," or "I'm going to hurt you or your family or someone you know," then at that point they are committing an offense by uttering a threat. But by saying, "If you live like a gangster, you're going to die like a gangster."
Well, that's just one comment. It says, "Do you realize that someone could hurt you or your business for operating with such unethical, low-life standards?"
Still insufficient, sir. They have to say, "I'm going to do this to you." That's a threat.
So a veiled threat's not a threat then?
It's not enough to lay charges.
Okay, no, well, fair enough. That clears it up for me on that side of things. Hopefully nothing comes of this.
And of course, we know Jack Beauchamp was killed a month later, January 16th, 2006. The undercover police officer will be back on the stand tomorrow. The trial had to adjourn early today because one of the accused, Mohammed Kareem, wasn't feeling well and was taken to the Sheldon Schumer for possible treatment.
Okay, Carrie, thank you. Breaking news in the Northeast this hour. Police are investigating the discovery of a man's body in a home in the community of Pine Ridge. The circumstances of the death are not clear at this point. The medical examiner has been called in, and an autopsy could be performed as early as tomorrow to determine how that man died. A massive, sophisticated credit card fraud scheme has resulted in a staggering amount of charges. 2 Calgary teens are now facing more than 140 charges between them, ranging from credit card theft to fraud to child pornography. And there may still be more charges to come. Alyssa Carpenter reports.
19-year-old Curtis Keller and his 19-year-old girlfriend Amanda McHugh DeBaker live in a suite in this Millrise building. They moved in after the 2010 fire that destroyed the condo complex.
He ended up residing in an apartment that was attached to an individual named Victor Frolov, and he started to basically pilfer identification from Mr. Frolov, who now lives in California.
Police say Frolov's mail was still coming to the old address, and that's how Keller got a hold of Frolov's personal information. We went to the apartment, but all we got was voicemail.
Hello, you've reached the personal voicemail of Curtis Keller Enterprises. Please leave your name, number, and a brief message about yourself, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Police say Keller was very enterprising. They say inside they found even more evidence of fraud. A pin pad used in retail stores, dozens of fake credit cards. Some had already been manufactured, while others were in the process of being made when police executed their search warrant. Police think Keller bought credit card numbers off the internet.
I'm telling you right now, you have to be fairly tech savvy to be able to pull this off.
Police also found drugs and drug paraphernalia in the condo, and while examining the computers taken from DeBaker and Keller, they discovered child pornography. Amanda DeBaker faces possession and accessing child pornography charges, 1 count of possession of a controlled substance, and 1 count of possessing an instrument to copy credit cards. Her boyfriend has a much longer charge list, 137 offenses. Most are for fraud and credit card theft. So what led officers to the couple's home in the first place?
We were investigating him for a more violent offense, and that investigation continues.
And Tara, police won't say what that violent offense is, only that it's not a homicide. That investigation continues, and depending on the outcome, there could be even more charges laid against Mr. Keller.
And Alyssa, police believe there may be victims all over the world with this. Is that right?
Absolutely, Tara, from Australia, possibly Europe, the U.S. and Canada as well, but they're particularly focused on the possibility that there are more victims in the buildings behind me. We know that that there was mail still going from an old tenant, and the police believe that's how the new tenants were able to get a hold of his information. They want to hear from anybody who did live here prior to the fire or afterward if they've had anything suspicious, any strange charges on their credit cards, any indication of identity theft at all. You're asked to call police. We should tell you as well that Amanda DeBaker was in court this morning, and Keller will be in court on June 6th. Both are still behind bars. Tara?
Okay, Alyssa Carpenter live tonight. Thank you. The Calgary Flames have a new bench boss. Glenn Campbell joins us now, and I guess, Glenn, no real surprise about today's announcement.
Not at all, Tara. The Flames have hired Bob Hartley as their new head coach. Now, he's had a relationship with Jay Feaster over the years. The two helped Hershey win an AHL title, and Hartley is the godfather of one of Feaster's sons. And Hartley says he's thrilled to be getting back behind the bench in the NHL. He said he had 3 dream jobs, and one of them was right here in Calgary.
It is unbelievable. This is an unbelievable day for me. Not only that, you know, like I am back in the NHL, but I am in a great Canadian market, in a very proud community, very supportive community of their hockey club.
You know, I don't want to call him an amateur psychologist, but I think he's very good at understanding people, what motivates people, what drives people, what drives athletes, what players want to accomplish, and how you go about getting that.
And Hartley says Montreal was also interested in him, but he chose Calgary. The contract is for 3 years. Tara?
All right, Glenn, thank you. We'd like to know what you think of Bob Hartley as head coach of the Calgary Flames. You can tell us at ctvcalgary.ca. The price of oil has taken a sudden drop, which is big news in Alberta since our economy is so closely tied to that resource. Some feel the dip is very concerning, though others say it is way too soon to panic. Rich Hampton reports.
A barrel of oil is now worth less than $87. That's the lowest price since October, and analysts say that's a big concern.
3 weeks ago, we had $108. Now we have $87, $86. I think it's heading lower in the near term, possibly $80. And clearly that's negative for the industry, negative for the province.
So why such a precipitous drop in the price of oil? Analysts say there are a number of factors, including the ongoing fiscal crisis in Europe. And for now, fears over Iran's nuclear plans have subsided, so the panic in the market has eased. The price of oil has a major impact on Alberta's fortunes. The government has forecast oil will average just under $100 this year, something the Wild Rose Party pressed the Premier on this week.
How will she get out of this new $2 billion budget hole? By increasing the deficit, raising taxes, or wiping out what's left of our savings?
Our projections are entirely consistent with what's happening right now in the international economy.
Industry officials point out, despite what oil is trading for today, there are commitments for $55 billion in capital spending in the oil and gas sector in Canada next year.
I mean, you're going to be there 25, 50 years. So you're looking out that far. You're not necessarily paying attention to what's happening tomorrow.
And most believe these current lower prices won't last.
Chances are oil prices will jump right back up well over $100. So it's a very fluid time. Clearly in the short term it's negative.
Reg Hampton, CTV News, Calgary.
The government has also forecast the price of a gigajoule of natural gas to be $3 this year. Peter Linder believes $2.50 is a better estimate. Canada's opposition leader visited the Alberta oil sands today. The tour comes just a few weeks after he criticized the industry for inflating the Canadian dollar and hurting the manufacturing sector in eastern Canada. No media were allowed on the visit, but they were there when Mulcair arrived at the legislature this afternoon. A small group of pro-oil sands protesters were also there to greet him. Thomas Mulcair toned down his rhetoric, shifting focus from the economy to the environment.
We're still talking about the importance of cleaning up these sites and making sure that nothing is leaching, for example, into the groundwater.
Mulcair did not meet with Premier Alison Redford. He did not meet with Redford because she is at an economic conference in Virginia. Instead, he met with Deputy Premier Thomas Lukaszuk. Now, in yesterday's web poll, we asked whether you think the Canadian economy has an unhealthy addiction to the oil sands. 3/4 of people say no. About 2,300 weighed in. David Spence joining us now. David, it was a beautiful day out there.
Yes, we had quite a bit of sunshine coming out this afternoon, and as a result, our temperature got into the 20s today. 20.7 is the official high temperature for today in Calgary, and we should get even warmer tomorrow with a westerly wind causing temperatures to rise even more. The sun, though, it wasn't completely sunny. In fact, we just saw some showers moving across the north edge of the city earlier this afternoon. Most of those showers have moved off to the northeast, and up north near Red Deer and Olds, we're still seeing some fairly heavy precipitation and even heavier weather north of that, just to the west and southwest of Edmonton. 20 degrees still in Calgary. It's partly cloudy. Wind from the west at 24. Tonight we'll get down to 7 with a clear sky. And then tomorrow, a westerly wind again. 21 degrees with increasing cloud as the day goes on. We'll talk about that and the weekend later in the program.
Thank you, David. Police in Montreal believe Luca Rocco Magnotta may have left the country. Magnotta is believed to be behind a gruesome murder in Montreal. Police suspect he sent dismembered body parts to Conservative Party headquarters in Ottawa. Geneviève Beauchemin has the latest.
It's a most gruesome task, cleaning up after a murder in Montreal that has sent shockwaves internationally.
Well, we took out the mattress and the couch. They were completely, saturated with blood, so.
But in the process, the cleaning crew turned up pieces of what could be evidence left behind by police, what appears to be small pieces of human remains in the drain. And so after a call, police came back. But much of their work now trying to track down the main suspect, Luca Magnotta. The hunt is now international. Police believe he may have fled the country, perhaps to Europe.
And if you look on different websites, you see the appearance of that person could change dramatically from a male to a female, wearing wigs and things like that.
Magnotta was born in Ontario. Family members still live in the area and were questioned, though police say they have not been in contact for years. There are dozens of photos of Magnotta online, numerous allegations of acts of animal cruelty, unproven rumors of a link to Carla Homolka that he himself has denied.
He's a tenant across the hall from me.
Neighbors say he kept to himself. Richard Payette found out just a few weeks ago he spoke English after overhearing him in the hallway.
All I heard him say, says, "Are you staying here tonight?" And the guy said, says, "No, I'm going home."
Police aren't revealing the identity of the victim, but say he was a man in his 30s who knew the suspect. They are trying to see whether a horrendous video could yield clues. It appears to show the murder, the dismemberment, in graphic detail, allegedly filmed by the killer.
This is a sad man, this is a sick man, that there's only one place for him. This is behind bars, and this is in front of a court of justice.
And while the foot and the hand were shipped to political party offices in Ottawa, police say they do not believe there's a political motivation behind the crime. They're still trying to track down missing body parts, and they say this is a complex investigation. Police are still asking for the public's help, saying if anyone spots Magnotta, they should call 911 immediately. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
Magnotta also uses the names Eric Clinton Newman and Vladimir Romanov. 3 friends who were shot to death on an Alberta highway last December were honored at a baseball game in Lethbridge last night. The memorial game began with a tribute for Tanner Craswell and Mitch McLean, the boys' dads, throughout the ceremonial first pitch. The lone survivor, Shayna Conway, was at their side. She still walks with a cane. In the first inning, the Bulls played with no second baseman or shortstop. In their place lay the numbers 6 and 13, numbers the club has now retired. It is still 2 months away, but already the excitement is building. We'll show you how corporate Calgary is preparing to celebrate the Stampede's 100th anniversary. And we've got the latest buzz on bees. Have you noticed how many are in your garden this year? We'll tell you why. This coming Stampede promises to bring out the biggest and the best parties corporate Calgary can throw. It appears Stampede celebrations are back in vogue after being toned down the past few years. As Bill Marks reports, bars are booked and Western clothes are already flying off the shelves.
There we go. It's my Western shirt.
It's already happening. Western stores in the city report higher than average sales. Stampede, it seems, is already on people's minds.
I'm buying a Western shirt for Stampede.
You're getting ready already?
Already.
It's going to be a big year for you this year, stampeding?
Yes, and I'm hoping that a lot more country bands come for this year. It'll be awesome.
Staff at Riley and McCormick say business is way up over last year. Brian Guichon's grandfather started this business back in 1901. The past few years, things were slow. Corporate Calgary wasn't in the mood to party, but that's changed this year.
Huge increase in our corporate business. We're doing a lot of, for want of a better word, corporate swag is huge up. Where everyone wants to have a Western shirt with their logo on it, and we do a lot of that. And we're also, people are getting their boots early, so they get nice and comfortable and broken in for Stampede.
Urban cowboys are spending $500, $600, $700 for boots, even more for Stetsons. David Finch is an assistant professor of marketing at Mount Royal University.
A lot of confidence now in the oil patch. I think you're seeing a very tight labor market, and as a result, you're going to be seeing celebrations at a level that Calgary hasn't seen in some time.
Bookings at local bars and restaurants are way up as well. Here at the craft beer market, reservations started coming in last July. Now the 10 days of Stampede are completely booked.
Mostly corporate for the bookings that we're doing, and we've got anything from groups of 20 people to groups of 800 to 1,000 as well that are booking out the full venue this year.
Corporate Calgary's looking to Stampede?
Absolutely.
So a booming economy and the 100th anniversary of the greatest outdoor show on earth, together spurring a return to the bigger, more lavish Stampede parties that haven't been seen in years. Yahoo!
See you.
Bill Marks, CTV News, Calgary.
Bars, restaurants, and hotels tell us they all expect to set records this year during the 10 days of Stampede. David's back with us. We're way too far out to predict any weather, but if we had weather like this weekend coming up, it would be perfect for Stampede.
It would be fine, yes. It won't be too hot. Very pleasant conditions coming up this weekend. But, you know, Stampede, that means what? Rain, hail, snow. Prepare for it. Prepare for anything. We've got some rain to the north of us going on this evening. For at least the most part is to the north. To the northwest, we're seeing some as well. Picking up very nicely on radar the activity going on in southern and central Alberta, including parts of northwest Calgary. Looks to be in for some rain showers again. Also the west side of the city. We've been seeing some radar returns from the central core, but those have been false, at least so far. Most of the rain going on is to our north through central Alberta. Here's Highway 2 from just to the north of Olds all the way up toward Lacombe and beyond. There's some fairly heavy rain falling along parts of the highway. And then west of the highway toward Edmonton, southwest of Edmonton, we've got heavier rain still, and this storm here has a history of heavy rain and small hail. Temperatures, 20 degrees in Calgary, 14 at Banff, 17 at Pincher Creek, 19 at Lethbridge, Drumheller's 23, Brooks is 22, Medicine Hat 19, it's 20 degrees at DRC Ranch and Airdrie, 17 at Bragg Creek, 19 at Cochrane, Strathmore is 19 degrees, and here you go, 5 of a kind, a perfect hand, 20 degrees from Mackenzie Meadows up toward the airport and across to Valley Ridge Golf Course. The forecaster has picked up on this precipitation in central Alberta, these rain showers, and it says that those showers will be gone overnight tonight and tomorrow morning. It'll be mainly sunny east of the Rocky Mountains, back toward the Rockies some cloud, and back into British Columbia. Some rain is likely to fall through much of the day tomorrow. But here in Alberta, east of the Rockies, it will remain dry, some cloud drifting through from time to time. In Calgary, we can look forward to afternoon cloud building up, but again, not much in the way of precipitation, if anything at all. Saturday will also start off with some pretty dry weather. So at midnight tonight, still pretty warm, 12 degrees, 7 degrees tomorrow morning with sunshine, some afternoon cloud. It'll be breezy too, the wind from the west at 20, gusting to 40, up to 21 degrees. 5-day forecast, 16 on Saturday, 15 on Sunday, pleasantly cool. 18 degrees for Monday, and then Tuesday we get rain and cool weather coming back again. The quiz question, typically more sunlight is reflected by what, the Earth or the Moon? We'll answer that at the end of the show.
Thank you, David. Well, we've already got 4 of the top 5 most watched new programs of the year, but CTV has more great programming in the works. We'll tell you what's on the schedule for the fall. And we'll take you back into the refugee camps along the South Sudan border, how doctors are saving lives against the odds. We continue our look tonight inside the refugee camps near South Sudan. Our Kevin Green is the first Canadian reporter allowed in, and tonight we explore a refugee camp hospital. Despite the almost insurmountable problems with operating a hospital in a remote war zone, doctors there are saving lives.
There are over 90,000 refugees in Maban, South Sudan. People here have been forced from their homes in the north by a relentless bombing campaign directed by the Sudanese army.
For one day, they are bombing for 7 bombs on one day. My 2 sisters is killed by Antonov.
There's only one fully serviced hospital here. Inside operating room 1, everything from gunshot wounds to C-sections.
We work like 24 hours sometimes, and you come and there is no change. You don't have other doctors to come in. Surely we need we need some doctors to come and help.
Less than an hour after delivering a baby by C-section and barely conscious, the only place available for this mother and her baby is a thin blanket on a dirty cement floor.
He's crying. Malesh. We are actually overwhelmed by the number of patients we are admitting. The numbers are bigger than the space available and even the beds available. We are in the process of trying to acquire beds and mattresses.
Despite the problems, this hospital has a remarkable recovery rate. Staff here are hailed as heroes by the refugee population, and they credit the NGO Samaritan's Purse for turning what was once just a clinic into a life-saving surgical facility.
This facility, before arrival of Samaritan's Purse, had no doctors, had no laboratory services, had no surgical capacity.
Refugees in this camp don't want to be here. They're forced to be here by circumstances beyond their control. Innocent victims in a war over race, religion, and resources.
She never imagined that one day she can live as a refugee.
And she hopes to go home again one day, but like everyone here, she can't do that until the government of Sudan stops attacking its own people. Kevin Green, CTV News, Maban, South Sudan.
If you're looking for a way to help out the relief agencies working there, we've got information on our website, ctvcalgary.ca. Still to come, increasing access to life-saving technology. Now, the province is trying to make sure you can find an automated external defibrillator when you need one. In health news tonight, would you know what to do if someone's heart stopped? Karen Owen joins us, and you brought our AED from the front desk with you tonight. The province, of course, wants to find out where all of these are. Where are they located?
Yeah, and because that's the thing. They're in lots of public buildings, but they're also in homes and private businesses like this one. So the thing is, nobody really knows where they are. They want to get everybody to register them. And what they would like to do is have them so easily accessible because, you know, time is of the essence. If you need one of these, you need to know where to go to get it.
In order to get an ambulance or a fire responder to a call, sometimes you're looking at anywhere between 4 to 10 minutes. And we know through stats that as soon as the heart stops beating properly, the brain starts dying. Within 4 to 5 minutes, there could be too much damage to try to resuscitate that person.
So the AEDs are actually programmed to determine if someone's heart has actually stopped beating and then deliver an electric shock to restart the heart. It's estimated there's about 5,000 of these AEDs in Alberta, but only about 600 are registered. It is a voluntary registry, so ideally every AED would be on the registry. So then if someone calls 911, the 911 operator can actually direct them to the closest AED.
Now, it's a great idea, but they are, I think people find them a little bit intimidating. So even if they knew where it was, would they go use it?
They are a little bit scary, but that's why I think it's important to know you can't shock somebody if their heart hasn't stopped. So you can't hurt anybody. Really important to know, because I think we all kind of worry about that. Also, legally, we're all protected. We have sort of a Good Samaritans Act in Alberta. So if you do something wrong as you're trying to help somebody, you do have legal protection as well. So really, no excuse.
Okay, good information. Thanks, Karen. CTV has announced its fall programming lineup. Several hit shows will return and some new ones are going to debut.
You got my balloons, right?
I never agreed to kill somebody.
Grace, we have it.
This one's called The Mob Doctor. It combines two TV genres, medicine and mobsters. Jordana Spiro plays a surgeon with a brother in trouble with the mob. It will air on Sunday nights. And The Arrow will debut on CTV2 Wednesday nights. The series stars Canadian Stephen Amell as vigilante superhero with a secret identity. For more on the fall lineup, you can go to ctv.ca.
Good evening. The Lone Ranger gets most of the credit for CIBC's near 6% increase in profit. The last of Canada's Big Five banks made $811 million in the last 3 months, despite a modest 2.3% increase in revenue. It's the fourth bank to credit consumer loans for driving up profit, but the bank predicts only modest economic growth in Canada this year, and the latest numbers suggest Canadians are paying down debt faster and taking on less of it after more than a year of dire warnings about household debt by Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney. Shares of CGI Group soared the most in more than 11 years after announcing a $2.6 billion takeover. The technology outsourcing company spiked as much as 19% on news of the purchase of Logica of Britain. The move will double the company's footprint in Europe at a time when the continent's companies are considering outsourcing to cut costs as the recession recovery remains in doubt. Meantime, the U.S. recession recovery is now in doubt. The number of Americans signing up for unemployment benefits rose again last week. That's the 7th time in the last 2 months. 383,000 lined up for the first time at the unemployment office. Meantime, the U.S. economic growth in the first 3 months of the year turned out to be softer than expected as companies restocked the store shelves at a slower pace than previously recorded. Disappointing U.S. employment news combined with continued concerns about a Eurozone breakup led investors to sell stocks in Toronto, New York until the last hour of trading. And if neither Europe nor the U.S. are growing as fast as first thought, neither will need as much crude oil. Oil has fallen this month, the most in 3 years. That certainly clipped the loonies' wings from that above par flight path. It's now trading below 97 cents against the greenback. Crude also moved the needle on how many Canadian dollars it takes to get a single euro, pound, or yen. That's the latest from the Business News Network. I'm Michael Hainsworth.